Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today I want to talk about this watch here. This is the Casio AQ-S810W. And this watch has been around for a little while, and I kind of haven't paid attention to it. I only started paying attention to this one, really, after I got this one over here. This is a slightly updated version. This is the model AQ-S820, so 820, 810, okay. And as you can see, the two of them together, this one on the left has more of a classic, clock look, just a formal look there with a little LCD window down there. And this one's a little more stylized, a little more edgy. And I don't know, I just didn't pay attention to it. Maybe because it wasn't a G-Shock and just didn't stand out as much as the watches I've been paying attention to the most. But after I got this one, I realized that this one here, the older one, does almost everything the same. So it just has a little bit different style. And if you like the style, either one of these would be good. This one here, as it's older, you might find some better deals on this one here. And in fact, I found this one on the shelf at the local brick and mortar Walmart store. Well, one of them anyway. They don't all carry this, but the one I went to that day had this one just sitting there. And there is a certain sense of satisfaction when you can just grab a watch, pay for it, and just a few minutes later drive home wearing it, not waiting for tracking numbers or, wondering when the package is going to come, So there is a certain sense of satisfaction just buying this at Walmart. So maybe check out the Walmarts near you. This one was about $42 plus tax at the local Walmart near me. Or you can find this, online. You can order it from Amazon and probably the Walmart website and maybe some other places. Look for a deal, but around $42 is probably the best deal you're going to find on this one at the moment. The regular retail is $55.95, and that is also, this one here costs that much. And that's what I paid for this one. I still thought it was a great bargain, a great value because of all the things that it can do. So, I like this one. You can find this one in some 3 different color combinations of the case and the watch band and the display. This one's still out there also in 3 or 4 different color combinations. And like I said, I bought this one because it was just right there at the Walmart store. Now, when I have the watch here in its regular timekeeping mode, the analog hands are showing the local time, and also down here in this LCD window, I have the local time, hours, minutes, and seconds. If I push this search button, then I've got the day of the week plus the seconds right there, or press it again, and I've got the date, month and date plus seconds there. And that might look a little confusing every now and then. You think, well, what time is it? It's 8:26 and 18 seconds, 19:20? No, that's the date. But there's no seconds hand, so that's why the seconds display is down here. And you'll notice over here, there's also these 5 little boxes, kind of an animated display, if you will. Every second, one of those boxes is either appearing or disappearing. And that's the major difference, really, between this module and the newer one. The newer one doesn't have that little animation with the boxes, but the older model here does. And so this is the 810. There's also an older model, the AQ-S810W, which is a little bit different case there. And I think that's been discontinued a while ago. You may still be able to find those. So the 800 and the 810 have these 5 little LCD boxes, and the 820, the newest model, does not. Otherwise, watches, they do the same thing. Okay, so in order to make this work correctly, here, I'm going to put this back to that mode here. First thing you have to do is set it. So I'm going to go through the settings. We'll get it all set, and then everything will fall into place. First, I want to hold the adjust button up there. And I see that the first thing it wants me to do is set my time zone. Great idea. So the time zones are named after major cities or airports. So I'm in the Denver time zone or the Mountain time zone, but I can scroll eastward on the map by pushing this search button, and I get into these other time zones that way. Now, if I push this button here, it will actually take me the other direction. It's kind of nice when you're first trying to set it up. So, if I were in Los Angeles, and the hands are going to go back 2 hours to show Los Angeles because by default, it's not showing daylight saving time. So, all right, I better fix all that because this really isn't the right time zone for me right now. So So once again, I'll select the correct time zone, which will be the Denver time zone, and daylight saving time. So if I push the mode button, this is where I select whether I want daylight saving time on or off. This does not have, atomic timekeeping or wave scepter technology built into it. So I will have to manually tell it when daylight saving time should be displayed or when it should be off. Right now, it should be on. So I'll go ahead and set that daylight saving time on. And I can have either a 12-hour or 24-hour display in the LCD portion of this watch. Right there, I select that. And here's where I would manually set the time. So seconds, hours, minutes, the year, the month, and the date. They all happen to be correct right now, so I'll just leave those as they are. And then key. This is nice because with a lot of watches, maybe you noticed when they have a digital component, as you press buttons to change modes or you're starting and stopping a stopwatch and those sorts of things, it makes a lot of beeps. Maybe almost every time you press a button on this watch, it would make a beep when this says key right there and has a little musical note. But if I push the search button, I can mute that. And now it doesn't make all those beeps all the time. It will still beep at the conclusion of a countdown timer, or also when the alarm is going, or when the hourly signal kind of beeps every hour at the top of the hour. But other than that, when it's muted like this, it won't make any other beeps when I'm going through the modes and adjusting the watch or anything like that. So I'll leave it on mute for now. The backlight can either last for 1.5 seconds or 3 seconds, so you can change the duration there. Some people like to go with a shorter duration because it saves on battery power if you use the backlight a lot. I tend to not use the backlight a lot. And the other thing about this watch that I don't think I've mentioned yet is it's solar powered. So I leave it on a longer duration since I don't use the backlight very often. And since this watch will recharge itself automatically, I'm not so worried about battery power. All right, I'll press the mode button again. And here, English, okay, is my default language here. And the only thing this affects on the watch is the abbreviation of the day of the week. So that abbreviation can be in English, Portuguese, Spanish, French, German, Italian, or back to English. So I'll leave it that way. And that's it. That's all the setups. Now, let me show you how it operates. And as I take it out of that setup adjustment mode, the hands are going to come around, and now they're going to show the correct time based on right there, 11:08 and a half, basically, is what it's showing right there. Okay, so there I go. Now, in most operations, the hands are going to always show the local time. No matter what is down here, hands should always be on the local time, unless you're in your setups. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next mode. And right now, the first thing it shows me is the state of the battery. Is it a high charge, medium, or low charge? Right now, it's on high. And it's going to stay that way with regular exposure to everyday lighting conditions. So the neat thing about this and the other tough solar watches from Casio is that as long as they're exposed to some light every day, they will usually keep a high charge indefinitely. And I suppose eventually the battery will wear out inside and it won't recharge. But with normal use, this is going to go for a long, long time. My oldest tough solar watch now going on more than 19 years without ever having to open it up for any reason at all. I haven't changed the battery on that one. So with proper use and maintenance, which basically means just keep it in the light when you're storing it. Some people want to store their watch in a dark drawer, for months on end. Not a good idea with these solar powered watches. When I'm not wearing it, I like to leave it in a case maybe that has an open top or a glass top where it gets a little bit of light, or just kind of on the dresser or whatever, and then they will stay charged it's pretty trouble-free, actually. So that's my suggestion if you have a solar-powered watch. Make sure when you're not wearing it that it gets some light, and you'll find that it'll maintain a high charge for a long, long time. Okay, enough of that. Here, I'll press mode again, and now I'm in the world time mode. And I've selected Honolulu for my other time zone. So it's going to show me, oh yeah, Honolulu, that's the time there. Happens to be 4 hours behind where I am right now. Now, if I tap this search button, just give it a tap, it'll remind me that's Honolulu. But if I want to change this to some other time zone, I can press and just keep pressing the search button, and it'll show me other time zones. And if I push this button here, the light button, it does not back up and go the other direction. So this is like you're going eastward on the map every time you push the search button. So let's see, I'm going to take it to UTC because I tend to do that. All right, so that's the local time at UTC. It's about 6 hours ahead. Well, it is 6 hours ahead of where I am right now in our daylight saving time. If I want to swap the local time with the world time, just do a quick swap. Maybe I'm doing some travel and I'm often switching between different time zones when I go places. You can do a quick swap by, I believe with this one, it's if I press these top two buttons together at the same time. And look at that. It has now changed Denver to the world time, and it's moving the hands around to make UTC the local time on this watch. So if I go back to, well, I have to wait until it finishes going around. So, all right, here we go. Come on, there we go. Now, if I go back to my regular timekeeping mode, that's UTC down there. And of course, that's UTC now on the hands. But I'm going to go back to the world time mode there and swap that back. All right, so now everything is right in the world. UTC is my world time zone, and those hands are soon going to be showing the correct time where I am. And I have to wait until it finishes going around before I can go to the next mode. Almost there, and there. Now this is my alarm mode, and it has 5 alarms plus the hourly signal. So every hour, at the top of the hour, it beeps a couple times to show the hourly signal, but I can turn that off by just pressing that adjust button. Just give it a tap for on or off on the signal. And then these alarms, so alarm 1, alarm 2, you got all 5 there. And I can activate those alarms by tapping the adjust button, or I can change the setting by holding down the adjust button and letting things blink. So pretty straightforward and very similar to the way alarms work on just about all of my Casio and other G-Shock watches. Right, the next mode is a countdown timer, and this is kind of unique compared to my other Casio watches. The countdown timer on this watch actually has two timers that you can set. So the first one I've set to half an hour. And then if I tap this adjust button, it shows me the second one I've set to 0. So 1 and 2, half hour and 0. And then it can repeat. It can either go once like it is now, or you can have it repeat up to 10 times. So there are a lot of combinations you can explore as you're doing your countdown timers. Now, a lot of people like to have a repeating countdown timer. So if, let's say, I wanted to do a timer, a countdown, I'm going to hold the adjust button down, and I'm going to set this down to, say, 5 minutes. Okay. And let's say I want the 5-minute timer to repeat indefinitely. Well, this won't go indefinitely, but it will go up to 10 times repeating. And then if I tap the mode button, I can also set the second one to 5 minutes. Okay. And then I can set the repeating up to 10 times. So when I've done this, and then it goes back to 1, but as I've done this now, my setting is 5 minutes, then the second countdown will start immediately after the first one, so that's another 5 minutes, and then it will repeat those two 10 times. So a total of 20 times it will repeat the 5-minute duration. So I can do that, and maybe that will work out. If you need more than 20 times of a timer repeating, I guess you'll have to start over. But that's one way you can do that. Or let's say I just wanted to do my half-hour countdown timer as I had it set before. What I could do if I wanted to. Oh, and you can set minutes and seconds every 5 seconds. So you can't set it to, absolutely every second. But here's what I'm going to do. 15 minutes on countdown 1. I'll do 15 minutes on countdown 2. And then I'll have that, say, not repeat. Just do that once. So this will give me a total of 30 minutes counting down. But right in the middle of that, it'll beep, not a full, it won't beep as much, but just a couple of beeps to remind me it's right in between the two countdowns. So that might be nice if I'm really trying to time something for half an hour, and right in the middle of that, I get a little reminder, hey, you're halfway there. A lot of things you can do. But if you just want a simple countdown timer and you're not concerned about that second one, you can always just set the second one to 0. and it'll go right past it. So yeah, unique. Lots of things you can do with that. 2 timers counting down consecutively. All right, my next mode is the stopwatch mode, and this is pretty straightforward as far as stopwatches go. I can start and stop it with this button down here that marks search, and then I can reset it with the one marked adjust, or you do have split time if you press that adjust button in the middle of your timing there. It's very similar to what you'll see on lots of different Casio watches and other digital watches, so I won't go into too many details, but you will see that this animation here, these 5 boxes, are appearing and disappearing in conjunction with the stopwatch in this mode. Next up, okay, we're back to our regular timekeeping mode. Now, it should stay pretty trouble-free from this point. It's a 100-meter water-resistant watch, not quite as tough as a G-Shock, but still pretty good. The watch band maybe not as tough as a G-Shock watch band, and this little buckle here. But for $42, all of these features, and the only thing that I would want to do if I could to improve this would be to have it automatically receive atomic time information with Wave Scepter or multiband 6. But for $42, if you take away the multiband 6 from this, that's not included, I think that's good value. And even when it's running just on its own quartz accuracy, it should be accurate to within 30 seconds a month, and I found that it's actually much better than that. Factory specifications say plus or minus 30 seconds, but in my experience, it's more like 10 seconds. It might even be better than that. So in my everyday use, if I really wanted to keep this watch accurate, maybe about once a week, all I would do is I would hold down this adjust button, go right here to right here, and as soon as some reference clock reaches 0, the top of the minute, I just tap the search button and that would be reset and I'd be good to go. So not really that concerned about accuracy, and the tough solar that automatically charges the batteries, that's great too. Now, one other thing I should mention, these hands are always going to show the local time unless you're in setup mode. And what if you notice that for some reason it's not, this digital time right here and the local time on the hands do not match each other? Well, it doesn't mean the watch is broken. Every now and then it might be exposed to some magnetism or shock. I used this all day when I was operating a jackhammer or whatever. So if the hands can get out of alignment sometimes, and I will have to say I got a lot of different watches from Casio, and I think maybe 2 of them over the last many years have ever kind of got out of alignment here. So it's not something you're going to deal with often, but before you panic and decide to throw the watch away, or you're going to send it in for repair or whatever, there's something you can do by yourself that might actually fix that alignment problem, and I'll show you that right now. What I need to do is maybe stop the stopwatch, make sure everything's there's nothing running in the background. Then what I'll do is I'll press and hold the adjust button. And as I hold that, as though I'm setting up the watch, keep holding until I see right there, H set. Okay, so now the hands are going to align themselves to the straight up 12 o'clock position so that I can check that alignment. And maybe from this camera angle it's not quite clear, but to me it looks fine. It looks like the alignment is fine. And it looks like when it's in the regular timekeeping mode, the analog hands are in sync with the digital readout down here. But if I thought that maybe it was not quite right, I could use this search button. And let's say I'll press it like 3 times. 1, 2, 3. See how it went ahead about 1 minute's worth? And so I could do that if I thought it needed to be adjusted by that amount. Or if I press the light button, it goes the other direction. So right now I think it's fine. And so what I can do is I can just stop pressing buttons, just leave it alone for about 3 minutes and it'll go back to regular use, or I can just tap the adjust button and now it goes back to regular timekeeping, and the hands are going to align themselves correctly. So that's what you can do if for some reason on that rare occasion the hands seem to be out of alignment. You can double check and adjust using that H set mode. It's a fairly comfortable watch and lightweight. Let's just put it on our kitchen scale. 42 grams. Compare that to the other newer version. And yeah, very comparable here. It might not be the most accurate scale ever. Here's a regular kind of G-Shock square, a little bit more. Here's kind of an affordable Illuminator watch. Weighs a little bit more. And how about something like this big old Edifice watch? Yeah, 192 grams. That's some big solid metal there. But so what this guy here, you're going to find very comfortable and very lightweight, featherweight, if you will. It's going to be very easy to wear. Here's the backlight button on the upper right side, and you can see it's just going after the LCD windows there. And so, a little bit of light coming from the one side and going across. And it looks pretty good and pretty easily read in the dark, but as you can see, it's not really doing much for the face of the watch. However, there is a little bit of glow-in-the-dark material. Look at that on the 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions and on the tips of the hands. So it's kind of fun to have some glow-in-the-dark there. Those are the things you're going to see when you're trying to look at this thing in the dark. And that's all for now. If you're into different styles, you can go with the more classic looking watch here and pay maybe a little bit more. There aren't a lot of bargains on this one, but you can, in some places you can find this for less than the suggested retail of $55.95. This one's easier to find for closer to $40. $42 plus tax is what I paid for this. And you can find a couple different color combinations and some other varieties to look at with this one still. The back of the watch is what you might come to expect from a lot of Casio watches and even G-Shock watches, kind of a stamped metal back with 4 little screws to hold that on. And with any luck, you'll never have to open up the back of the watch because it's taking care of its own battery for you and there's nothing else for you to do inside the watch. And just to be thorough, here's what the watch looks like on my wrist. There's a little bit still room there. I have about a 7.5-inch wrist, so I think this watch has plenty of spaces there for larger or smaller wrists. And again, that's what it looks like on the front, kind of, on the large side compared to maybe some smaller watches out there, or the watches I grew up with were smaller than this. Compare that to like this G-Shock Square there. Yeah, it's a big, nice watch. And that's what it looks like. And that's all I'm going to say for now about this watch. I've got other videos coming up, so I hope you will join me again soon for another episode of the Good Timekeeping Show.